Hey BookTube, it's Samantha, and I wanted to do a little bit of a reading check-in on what I've been reading for the past week or so. And we're kind of in a little transition period, so I figured it's the perfect time to record this video. So first of all, the book that has really got my grip is the audiobook that I've been listening to for the past, I want to say it's been a week and a half or so, and that is The 12 by Justin Cronin. This is the sequel to The Passage, which is the first book, and this is a trilogy. If you don't already know, The Passage is one of my favorite books. It's basically like post-apocalyptic, but you get to see how it goes. How the world kind of falls apart, and there is some experimentation going on that is making something to cause the end of the world. I will leave a little link because I have recommended this book for my Vlogtober series, and I really wanted to get to book 2 and needed an audiobook, and this was ready to go. It is a 26-hour audiobook. So you can imagine how big the book is. I mean, it's a chunker. I don't own it yet, but I know it's a chunker. But I'm really enjoying the audiobook. The narrator is doing such a wonderful job of portraying each of the different characters that are talked about, and the emotion that he puts into it. Like, I feel like I'm right there with the characters. It's perfect. I'll leave his name down below. So I've been thoroughly enjoying listening to that book on my commute from home to work and vice versa. I really can't talk about the book, obviously, because it's the second book in the series. What is interesting, though, that I will say is that I thought things would go a certain direction at the end of the first book. I thought it was very clear, like, oh, that's what we're going to be focusing on for book 2. And while that is one of the things talked about, we get introduced to some other characters who add into the overall picture of what is actually going on. Once I understood that was happening and that I wasn't just forgetting characters from the first book, it's greatly heightened my reading experience because it's expanding the world more. You're getting to see how other parts of the world are, well, not so much the world, it's more of like the US is reacting to what is happening, and I really am enjoying that. It's pretty good. I think I'm about, shoot, I listened to some of it this morning. I'm like 65% of the way through, and definitely going to be finishing that book by the end of this month. There's no doubt in my mind. So very much have been enjoying that. If you really like the first book, you'll definitely like this one. I was hesitant about continuing the series when I heard it was a trilogy, because I heard that it like tapers off as you go, but I am not having that experience whatsoever. I am thoroughly loving it just as much as I love the first book. So I'm very excited to see how it ends. And I know I own the third book, but it's in storage. So I'll probably also be listening to the audiobook so that I can actually complete the trilogy. So amazing. Next book I'm going to talk about is one that I've also been reading at the same time. In my I Found the Perfect Routine video, I talked about how I would read for like 15 minutes at night, take a break, 15 minutes. So I was reading a physical book for that. And that book was not Ship of Theseus. This is S by JJ Abrams. I would grab the other cover, but it's in the living room, and I'm too lazy to grab it. So this is that one where I thought they gave me the wrong book at Book Outlet, and no, it's the correct book. If you didn't see me talk about that in my book outlet video, it's different from your normal book because it's purely an immersive reading experience. So this is the book that the book is about, which is about V.M. Straka. He's this very mysterious person, and people are trying to figure out what actually happened to him and whatnot. It's a big, huge legend secret, and there's these scholars who are doing this really in-depth research trying to figure it out. And so you'll see here, there's these two people. The cursive handwriting is a female, and then the printed handwriting is a male. They keep on going back and forth and borrowing this book, sharing their thoughts and just kind of having conversations literally in the margins of the book. And every once in a while, like on this page here, you have little inserts or pictures that go along with the book. When I was opening up the book and everything, I found this little doodad. I haven't used it yet, but I was very intrigued about the whole mystery side of it and uncovering the information along with people in the margins. I am maybe a third of the way through. Yeah, page 142 out of like 400. It takes a really long time to read the book because I think this is kind of a good, things are falling out all over the place. So you're not just reading the story, but you'll notice that they'll underline certain things or they'll arrow over to certain things, and you have to take the time to read it to see what's going on. And it takes time to figure out where the conversation is at. And then you also have to read the footnotes because sometimes they're commenting on the footnotes because that's actually kind of a big part of where the mystery is. It takes forever to read a single page. Like normally with the size of like the actual book print itself, it would probably take me a minute to read for that page, if that. But because of all the other margin writing and like having to go sidetrack and then go back into the story, it takes me probably 2 minutes a page to read. So it is a really slow read. And then on top of that, the story in and of itself is not a current existing story. Like that is part of the book. Straka is not a real, it's a fictitious person for this book. So I'm like trying to get into the story of actually reading Ship of Theseus. Or is it Theseus? It's probably Theseus. But I'm also trying to follow the different theories that these two characters are going back and forth about. Because they're like, oh, well, if you looked up this, there's this research about how he was here at this place, and well, he did this, and oh, there's clues in the footnotes, and it refers to this book of his, and it refers to non-existent works. And so you're trying to build up in your mind what they're researching and being able to connect the dots to what they're referencing, but it's brand new to you. Is that making sense at all? It's almost like reading a fictional work from a completely different country, okay? So you've never read the book before, they're brand new to you, you really haven't heard of them. And then along with it, you are reading the notations of someone who like wrote a PhD thesis on this exact book and the author, and trying to figure out the same information that this person who's really studied this information, and trying to go along with them when you have absolutely no background whatsoever about the person. That's what it feels like. And it's really hard to keep track because like in AP English, if you took AP English or like a literature class, you're reading a book and then you're talking about, okay, what did he mean by this? Or what was she referencing when she wrote this scene? And you like overanalyze it. It's like you have to already know how it's being overanalyzed to understand what the mystery is. So it's been hard to have this be the book that I read in the evening when I only have like 15 minutes to read for a little bit and then do something, and then 15 minutes to read and do something, because you have to kind of be in it for a while. So I kind of put it down for a few days and I haven't picked it up. I feel like it's probably going to start getting to a point where it's going to be more engaging in the comments part. And I think if I read the whole thing and understood where it was leading to, maybe on the second time around, I would understand it more because I would have that knowledge already in my head. I don't know. Like, I've almost been tempted to just read the story without the margin comments and then going back through and reading the margin comments along with it. Because they'll reference certain things like in chapter 2, and it's like, oh, well, they're kind of referencing chapter 10, which is this big mystery of whether this author actually wrote chapter 10 or not. So it's just like, but I don't know what's in chapter 10 because I haven't read it yet. But these fictional people writing in the margins know what happens in chapter 10. So can you guys let me know what you think I should do? Should I just read the book, the printed book, as is all the way through? Should I continue to read it with the printed book and the margins and see how it goes? Or should I just let it go? I really don't know what to do. I've been trying to think about it and I'm not really sure the best way to move forward. So please let me know down below. I'm curious to see what you guys think. Moving on to the next thing though, is a book that I feel like I will be able to pick up and put down in the evenings. And I'm really excited about it. And that is Black Company by Glen Cook. This is technically Chronicles of the Black Company. It's the first 3 books in the series. I'm pretty sure it's kind of like R.L. Salvatore's Legend of Drizzt series, where it's like a whole bunch of books about Drizzt, but then you have a trilogy and then a quartet and a trilogy, that kind of thing. I think it's the same thing with this, is that you have your trilogy right here, but there's also additional trilogies that add on to the Black Company. Like it says, we have the Chronicles, right? And then you have the first and second book of the South. And then you have books 1 through 4 of Glittering Stone. And it has them all labeled under the Black Company. So I'm excited to see how I feel about this world. I like the darkness of the cover and I've heard really good things about it. This is another book outlet haul that I had, and I really don't know too much about it except that it's fantasy. So I picked it up the other night just to kind of see what the chapters look like. And it's kind of like a Stephen King novel where there's not that many chapter breaks, but there's a lot of breaks within the chapter. Like, for example, right here, you know. So we'll see how that goes. I'm hoping it'll be a little faster of a read, and I'm very much excited to jump into that. So those are the books that I'm reading right now. Black Company I haven't started yet, but I will be reading that this week. Super excited about that. My audiobook, I'll probably be finished within 7 to 10 days. So I'll check in with you guys next week on when I finish that. And if you can let me know some of your recommendations for audiobooks, I'm totally fine with the long one. As I stated, this one was 26 hours. So whatever your recommendations are, let me know down below, and I will see you later. Until next time, see ya.